Okay, so we'll call the meeting in order at 6 o'clock. I would like to start by saying this meeting takes place in the traditional and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people. Additions, deletions to the agenda, there aren't any. Deputy Mayor?
With audio, it's important that you have the microphone on. So I would like to make an addition just to the closed session agenda 14.4, just with respect to the potential seeking of a legal opinion. So just make note of that. Doesn't affect this public meeting.
Okay. Everybody good with adding that to the agenda? Yep. So we'll move on to approval of the agenda. There's a recommendation the council approve the agenda for the 28th, 2025 meeting as presented. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Strong. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fullerton. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Approval of the minutes. A recommendation the council approve the January 14th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented. Is there a mover? Moved by Councillor Daphne. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Babineau. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. So we have a couple presentations tonight under 6. So 6.1, it's my pleasure and the council's pleasure to recognize Mr. Dave Robb tonight. He's retiring from the Foodland in Lunenburg. And I'd just like to say that over the last number of years with Dave at the helm down there, he's been very involved in the community, both in fundraising initiatives. He's a deputy chief of the Lunenburg District Fire Department. He's always willing to step up and get involved. And quite honestly, Dave, congratulations on your retirement, but the community and the store will not be the same without you at the helm. So thank you very much, and come on up and I have a presentation for you. Thank you very much. Now, next on the agenda is 6.2. Do you want us to wait for Jamie? Okay, he's not here. He's coming in from the city and the roads are probably a bit nasty. So we'll go to 6.3, the parking and traffic study. Or is he here? Hold on. Is he here? Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jamie's here. Okay, well, if he's, that's all right. So Jamie, you're up, buddy. Thank you very much. Really.
Test. Oh. Okay, how do the slides work? And timeline. What do we get? 15 minutes. No, I don't think it'll be that long. There's about a dozen slides here. I think we can run through them pretty quick. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you for allowing the Berg Classic to be part of the agenda here today. You'll notice what I'll probably do is I'll use the word Berg Classic and Jennifer Collins Classic a little bit interchangeably, because since inception in 2013, we were called Berg Classic, and we renamed to the Jennifer Collins Classic as of 2024. So, introduction, a little bit about myself. So I'm Jamie Kniford. I'm from Riverport. I grew up in Lunenburg. When I speak of home, I speak of Lunenburg as my home. And I'm co-founder of this event that we started back in 2013, along with my lovely, beloved colleague, Lisa Tanner here. So the purpose of us being here today, the Coles Notes, is just to illustrate to everybody here what the JC Classic is, a little history about us, what we do, who we support, what we bring to the community, and how we would like the town to become a partner in some which way. You stand on this one for a quick second. So our mission, just as you see it on the screen, ultimately, at the end of the day, we put on community-focused events, try to bring everybody together 2 months a year through 2 events, a hockey tournament, a golf tournament, try to make a fun experience for everybody. But at the end of the day, we raise money to support people who have gone through life-altering circumstances. Their lives have been turned upside down, sort of thing, and just try to kind of help them out in any way that we possibly can. At the end of the day, sometimes when you're going through a rough patch in life, money doesn't solve the problems. The outcome may be inevitable, but at least what we can do is help the burden. We do have some criteria on who we support and have supported over the years. Ultimately, one thing that you're going to hear me mention a lot is local. So we do support the local community in the surrounding areas for those people facing life-altering hardships. And what we also like to see in people that we support is people who are active in the community some way or another. Go ahead. All right, so our team, we've grown over the years. So in 2013, we started with a team of 3. We now have a team of 9. These are all individuals that don't get paid. It's entirely volunteer-based, volunteer-run. We start planning in November. We end the planning with a big celebration in June. But it's a lot of time. It's a lot of hours that we all put in. And we got a great group that does it. We're very structured. So myself, I'm the lead. I really do a whole lot of nothing other than kind of juggle the balls and try to fill in the gaps as need be. But we do have a lead who is treasurer, tracks every dollar in, every dollar out, right down to the penny. We have an athletics lead, structures all the tournaments, makes it very competitive and fair. We have a sponsorship lead. It's pretty self-explanatory, looks after all the sponsorships. A lovely marketing and public relations individual who looks after all of our social media, our website, and all of our branding over the years. We have an individual who takes care of all the applications, goes through the rigorous process, does the homework at the end of the day, and then tables the ideas and situations to the group for a decision. We have a dance lead standing right next to me, a burger month lead as well. And at the end of the day, we have a cohesive team with a shared goal. So a little about the history. So originally, again, the Berg Classic started in 2013 as a rec, or as some like to say, a beer league hockey tournament, and a community dance with the sole goal of helping raise funds for Jennifer Collins, who back in 2009 basically had an incident and was left paralyzed from the neck down. Now, with that type of situation, we quickly realized that the burden is extravagant. And yes, people through their occupations and such have benefits and whatnot, but it's all the indirect costs that really start to add up over time, right? You know, I remember, so the wheelchair that it cost, the cost of the wheelchair actually cost more than my truck. So it's absolutely astronomical. You put healthcare in front of anything and the price doubles. It's absolutely mind-blowing. But at the end of the day, it's grown to a multi-weekend event that has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and has helped countless individuals, families, and causes within and around the community. So a little bit of the timeline at the bottom of the slide there. So started in 2013, 8-team tournament with the goal of helping Jennifer, raised around $15,000, and we said, wow, this is really going to take off. We gained a lot of traction, started making more money, and then expanded to help other individuals in need as well. By 2018, 5 years later, we raised $100,000. By 2020, we introduced the Battle of the Burger. 2021, we expanded to 20 hockey teams, which really kind of made an outlet to bring a whole lot more people into the community. I want to talk about what that kind of means for the town in the next few slides. 2023, we reached the 10-year mark, which was a big hurrah. And last year, we renamed the event. This year for 2025, we're expanding even further. We have 22 hockey teams, even more competitive, and we have a goal this year to break $500,000 cumulative since the year of inception. With any other group, values are important. We've established what those are, and I just want to review our core values that really at the end of the day influence every decision that we make. Community being number one. It's all about local, support local. You know, we've been asked, okay, hey, can you expand this hockey tournament and go to Bridgewater, go to Chester, let's make this bigger, better? And the answer is no. It's Lunenburg at the end of the day. This is all about Lunenburg. It's around bringing everyone together in this community. Support, straightforward, we covered that. It's about helping others. It's about doing the right thing. Respect. With any athletics tournament becomes a lot of competition, but at the end of the day, our event, everybody puts those emotions aside and they're there for the right reasons. Our fourth pillar basically is fun. It's all about having a good time, bringing everyone together. I was leaving a hockey game in the rink the other day. I wasn't even part of this conversation, but I overheard it from two individuals walking behind me. And one said, "Are you playing in the JC Classic this year?" The other said, "100%, wouldn't miss it for the world. It's my favorite time of year." Our events, so these are kind of our flagship events that really at the end of the day bring the people in and generate the revenue. So hockey tournament, community dance, which is sold out every year in a couple hours, a silent auction, Battle of the Burger, which includes around a dozen restaurants in and around Lunenburg and Bridgewater, and a 26-team golf tournament at Blue Nose. Funds raised. So to date, we've raised an exceptional amount of $420,000. And really at the end of the day, this year, we're really hoping to break that $500,000 mark. It does say there that we've donated to more than 60 recipients. That number is well above that at this point in time. But we're very excited to be able to advertise that. Okay, so our annual impact to the community. Hockey tournaments, 22 teams, that should say 350, but 350 participants, over 1,000 spectators come into the rink. What does that mean? That's great. Okay. At the end of the day, hotels are booked. Restaurants are full. Businesses are thriving. There's over 90 businesses that get highlighted during our hockey tournament. Town of Lunenburg not being one of them. The community dance, we have over 400 attendance. That's, like I said, sold out to max capacity, and local entertainment. The Battle of the Burger, 10 to 12 restaurants, 3,000 burgers sold. Quick math, $20 a burger, that's $60,000 in revenue into the restaurants. That doesn't include everybody else going to eat with them who may not be eating a burger. So that number could grow to $100,000 really quick. The golf tournament, over 100 participants. And again, during that weekend in May, hotels are booked, restaurants are filling up. So I would like to argue this one. I think that number should be much more than that, but at a rough number, you know, we bring more than $100,000 in to support local businesses within the town each and every year. So a bit of a fee breakdown. What we do and how the town's involved is we rent the rink facility. We also rent the community center. If these facilities remained unoccupied, the cost would be roughly $4,000. Now, where did I get these numbers from? It's a good question. I'm not an expert. I have a little bit of history working with recreation facilities, but it's a bit of an educated guess. So when we hold the event, we need to add staff. There's cleaning, there's supplies, there's all that stuff that come along with it. The utilities go up because we're using water, we're using more power, that sort of thing. Rough guess on that is estimated to be an additional couple $1,000 through 3 to 4 days in March. For otherwise an event where the rink would remain unoccupied. Next slide, please. So I thought this was worth sharing. Over the years, the Jennifer Collins Classic has paid over $70,000 in rental fees for the rink facility and the community center. The amount that's been contributed from the town of Lunenburg was our first year. The community center rental was provided at free. And last year there was a couple silent auction items which had a sale value of around $400. And at the end of the day, when you get the bidders and stuff, you might get around $300. Worth noting that the municipality of Lunenburg, no questions asked, has donated to us every single year, totaling over $7,000 in cash sponsorship. So, you know, it's interesting to me and to us at the end of the day. You know, we speak nothing but positive. It's a very positive weekend to be a part of. I get questions lots during the weekend. How does the town participate in the Jennifer Collins Classic? And my answer is not negative, but it's truthful and honest. And I think that's important at the end of the day. But that response is they don't. And we would like to change that, and we're going to try. And that's why we're here today. A few years ago, we were asked by the town to provide funds to help the Zamboni. I can't remember if it was purchasing a new one or if it was refurbishing the one that was over there. And, you know, unfortunately, our immediate answer was no, but that was for a couple of reasons. First of all, the town has not partnered with us yet, and we hope to change that. And the second was it really didn't adhere to our values on what we're trying to support through the event at the end of the day. But we're people just like everybody. We understand that, you know, rink facilities usually run at a deficit, right? And if we don't have a rink to operate in Lunenburg, that's a problem. And we don't want to see that. So, you know, should there be a partnership in the future? And if that question were to get asked again, we would certainly love to have a discussion around what that could look like. At the end of the day, we do truly just want the town of Lunenburg to be a big part of this event. So how do we do that? So these are just options. They're just options. They're suggestions. They're open for discussion. The first option is, of course, we're going to ask for the world, right? We would love to partner with the town, make the town the presenting sponsor. Everywhere the JC Classic logo is posted, the town is right beside it, right? Really make the town a part of this event. The value of it is, yes, it's around $10,000. Could be, you know, drop in the bucket at the end of the day, but that would be amazing. The second option is our diamond sponsor tier. I think it could be a fair ask for council to consider, you know, what those operational costs are for the facilities and have us pay them. And then the difference between that and the charge out rate that we typically get charged, have that be the donation amount. And that would wind up being a diamond sponsor. And we'd be very happy with that. The third option is platinum sponsor. So it would be a free community center rental. No food truck parking, which I'll mention in a second, but perhaps a discounted rate on the hourly ice time. So to date, you know, we know that minor hockey, they get a discounted rate. And we think that that's absolutely wonderful for the kids. It is extremely important for the town to provide a discounted rate for minor hockey. We are an event that raises now $100,000 a year to provide support back into the community for individuals going through a hard time. We would love to be considered for that kind of grant or discount. The food truck parking, I'll just mention this one really quickly, but last year for the first time, we got sent an invoice for Nellie's parking out front of the arena. They took up 6 parking spots and the invoice said parking. Well, I hate to say it, but that whole parking lot is jammed right up to the tennis courts, back to the 2-family restaurant for the entire weekend. And we got to rent 6 parking spots for Nellie's. Even if it said, you know, additional power, utilities, no problem. But I couldn't help but say that one didn't sit too well. But again, we're not here to be negative. We want to just have a discussion around it. At the end of the day, just to wrap up, I just want to say thank you and show our appreciation for the time and allowing us to do this. Certainly happy to hear any feedback and answer any questions to the best that we possibly can. At the end of the day, our group and our committee of volunteers, we formed this to bring the community together and do the right thing and help people. And we're asking the town of Lunenburg to consider doing the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. I guess I'll just start by saying that from a person that's been involved with we put a team of young fellows in probably 3 years ago now, and my store sponsored them. And I will say we have kids that book that weekend off to come as far away as British Columbia, and annually that's their vacation. They make sure they book it off, they travel, and it's like an old home weekend for those young men. And a lot of that generation doesn't seem to want to get involved too much, it seems, in the community. And I think some of them have stepped up and helped you guys out. There's one, I think, on the committee now.
Yeah.
So it's really shown that group of young adults a leadership and a commitment that I think really, you know, is extraordinary, because they don't usually show that side at that age. And I will say that we're talking about that now, because some players can't make it. And we have probably, you know, you ice a 15-player squad. We probably have 15 players wanting to get on the team every time someone backs out. So the town's abuzz that weekend. I mean, I know from my shop, there's people around. The community's busy, and it's great to go over to that rink on Thursday at 6 o'clock in the evening and have hundreds of people in there. And then on Saturday night and on Sunday, when the real hockey starts, it's packed. And it's great to see, because really there's not much of that anymore at our rink. So when I was a kid growing up, that used to be every Thursday and Saturday night with the old senior league. And it's great to see the rink like that again. So again, I thank you and your committee for what you've done for the community. And then adding the golf tournament, I think it's just a great added twist, because I know that we played in it last year, and we had a great time. And it's a lot of fun, and it's competitive, but you've made everything fun enough that it doesn't get too competitive, which is good. So again, I just want to thank you on behalf of the community for everything you and the committee has done the last 10, 11 years. And I'll pass it over to my colleagues if they have any questions.
Appreciate it.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I think I would be remiss if I didn't speak up as well. Like Jamie, or like the mayor, sorry. My family's been associated with this tournament since its inception, and have been participants. So there's definitely an appreciation of what the event does for the community. And as the mayor's mentioned, it's like a homecoming event for anyone involved in the hockey community. I reconnect with fellow hockey parents who I haven't seen since the year before, but who I spent a great number of years with my sons who all played the game. So it's a wonderful weekend, and it's actually been expanded to include others beyond the hockey players to make it a really truly community event. And the sense of community is palatable on that weekend. And I haven't been a part of the golf, but I'm sure as it's expanded and the other events that have added to the community and the feel of community with the Battle of the Burger and involving all the other businesses. But it's really does, I think, exemplify what we like to see when we talk about community building. And so it's very commendable what you've done, and the motivation for that is inspirational. And I know a number of the individuals who've been beneficiaries of all your hard work, and it's truly life-altering what you do for them, and how they feel that they've been supported by the other members of the community. So it is really a phenomenal event that I can speak to. And I certainly think that we should look at how we might be able to be a more active partner and look at some of the proposals you've brought forth. And I would move that we direct staff to enter that conversation with members of the committee and see what we may be able to do. So I would make that motion. Just one little caveat to that. Some of the things, perhaps the problems with getting support are somewhat logistical in the way municipal governments are set up and with our budgeting process and all of that sort of thing, which sometimes adds complications that aren't immediately obvious. And the timing of this and when budgets are approved is maybe part of that. So that's something that could be addressed in the conversation.
Thank you. So it's been moved by the deputy mayor to have staff look into the possibilities we might be able to help out with this event this year. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Strong. Any further discussion or questions by anybody? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. So thank you very much. You'll hear from us shortly. Good.
Thank you.
Safe drive back too, Jamie. So now 6.3 is the parking and traffic study. So Patrick, you're up.
Great. Hello, my name is Patrick Hatton. I'm a senior transportation engineer with WSP in Dartmouth. And for the last 7 months, my team and I have been working on the traffic and parking plan for the town of Lunenburg. I'm here to present that today. Slide. So, can we move that? Yep. So at the very outset of the project, so a few things became pretty clear that the town population isn't very big, but the seasonal tourist activity is quite significant and definitely worth noting and considering. Also, the UNESCO heritage status and maintaining the heritage character of the town. So it was very important to not have traffic signals everywhere and just an urban feel. Maintaining the heritage character was very important. Slide. So early in the project, so we did some site visits and investigations and came up with some of the challenges. As you know, there's some parking challenges. So we noted some loading that may maybe could have been used a little better. There's some on-street parking designated for specific businesses, and the parking meters are only in effect certain times and times of the year, and is coin operated, and this one in particular, the photo operates fairly well. Some of them were found to be sort of run down and falling apart. Slide. Also, as I'm sure you all know, there's some steep grades in Lunenburg that need to be considered, as well as the vehicles. So we didn't get a photo of the horse-drawn carriage, but there is that, as well as on the other extreme, some fairly large vehicles that need to load and unload, and might, in doing so, block stop signs and crosswalks and certain other important aspects of transportation throughout the town. Slide. So, so what we did at the outset was, so we collected traffic. So the observations were heavier traffic volumes in the summer months. Parking was highly utilized throughout the peak season. Steep slopes, narrow streets, and some active transportation improvements could be made, but those were mainly out of scope for this project. Slide. So so a little bit about our data collection plan. Slide. So I'm not going to go through everything, but we collected turning movement counts at 8 intersections throughout the town, speed data at 6 locations throughout the town, and parking data at 5 locations throughout the town. That was in the spring and the summer. So for a day for the turning movement counts, and several days for the speed and parking, twice throughout the project. Slide. And some key findings from the data. So as you can probably expect, the pedestrian counts went up quite a bit from June to July, and the vehicles went up a reasonable amount from spring to summer as well. Slide. So the parking, so we were out, we did an inventory of the on-street parking spaces. These are the spaces that are designated as something. So whether that's 2-hour parking, metered parking, accessible parking. If it's not signed, you're allowed to park there, but we didn't go and inventory the entire town of Lunenburg. So there's almost 500 parking spaces within that area, and spoiler alert, they are well used. But slide. Yep. So over the course of the spring, it was a peak of 80-ish% for the overall, all of the parking spaces that we surveyed. And in the summer, it was almost 100% as a peak. So quite busy, and several of the spot counts had a peak utilization of 100%. Slide. So our speed data. So we also collected speed data at 6 locations, 4 within what I'll call Old Town, and 2 more on the outskirts. The Old Town Park speed data were all 45 or less, and these are 85th percentile speeds. So only 15% of all drivers are driving over that speed. And then the ones on the outskirts, Trunk 3 and Dufferin Street, were higher speed, but they're posted higher. They're wider roads, fewer pedestrians. We would expect a higher speed. Slide. So some key findings of the parking. So as I say, well used. um, in both June and July, and most locations under the speed limit for the travel speed. Slide. So part of our project, after collecting all this data, so we identified a street classification map that we've suggested to the town, including whether to allow trucks on the local streets as a truck route. So not that trucks couldn't make local deliveries, but that they wouldn't be able to use it as a through street to connect to the more collectors and arterial roads. And so this was developed through consultation back and forth with town staff, as well as through public and shown at public engagement, which I will get to towards the end. Slide. So some parking options. So I'm not going to go through this entire slide, but there are several options that we looked at, and I'm happy to go through the minutia of every single one, but essentially pay by plate is the preferred option. That's what they do in Halifax, and that is motorcyclists don't have to show a ticket somehow on their motorcycle, and it's easy to so you put in your license plate. You can go into your app, you can extend your time, you can, and it's easy to integrate it with a residential parking policy, which was very, the residents were very interested in that in the public consultation, a residential parking policy. So, for example, in Halifax, they have a residential parking policy. You can pay a fee, an annual fee, to the town, to the municipality, to register your plate and park within a certain area for free. As a resident with this permit. Slide. So we've suggested some parking zones for this to be established. So anyone within these eligible zones could park within zone 2 for would be able to get a residential parking permit, and assuming the town accepts this, and with a variety of time limits and potentially hourly charges for the parking itself, that would of course be entirely up to the town to set. There was discussion as well about some of the boat tours that are longer than, say, 3 hours, and how does that work? And so perhaps with your boat ticket, you could be eligible to purchase longer time as you go out. These zones would be more applicable for visitors to the town. Residents would be eligible, at least in theory, for a residential parking permit. Slide. So part of the project was also looking at the community center parking lot, which we heard a little bit about in the previous slide. So it's a 10-minute walk and a 2-minute bike ride, and very flat, to the Fisheries Museum. So it is definitely an interesting opportunity to expand and accommodate more parking, particularly for visitors to the town. Also, of course, during Thursday morning, the market day, and other events as they occur. Slide. So right now, so it's off Victoria Street, Green Street, surrounded by the community center, curling club, Memorial Arena. The Blue Nose Academy does lease some of the parking spaces, so some of them are taken up through the day. And as I say, it is very close to Old Town and angled stalls, wide open. Speeding has been observed and is a concern. So we came up with a plan slide. So we turned the angled stalls, made them perpendicular, and added about 40 parking spaces to what is there now, as well as the hatched area with the, I wish I had a pointer, but with the dots on the, thank you, that side, as well as the two on the other side. Those are concrete islands. And so, or proposed concrete islands, obviously. And so as somebody, if somebody is coming in from Green Street, they would have a stop sign and a concrete island right in front of them. They wouldn't just be able to race through the parking lot. As well as, so we added some sidewalk and bicycle parking along the community center and curling club side along the, what I will call the south. And overall, the number of accessible parking spaces have also been increased. Slide. So some intersection options. So as I say, we went and did a whole bunch of traffic counts. Slide. So the crux of the intersection component of the project was, of course, Dufferin, Lincoln, Falkland. It's been looked at by many groups several times. It's the third time that our company has looked at this intersection, and it is definitely an interesting one. Tourists, I don't know. They must just get out and walk or something, because I don't know how they drive through it. Slide. We did do a roundabout option. We did look at it. It didn't really fit. It didn't really work for what we call the fastest paths. So I have skipped that. It is included at the end if we did want to look at it, but I've skipped it because it's not our recommendation. So one of our recommendations is a two-way stop, so a realigned two-way stop. Bring Dufferin down to be more in line with Station Lane, and make it into a more four-legged intersection with stop on Dufferin Street and Station Lane. Slide. So during the public consultation, some of the residents expressed some concern of the parking loss on the previous one. And so by making it into an all-way stop, we don't need the left turn lane from Falkland to Dufferin. It can just be single lane approaches, and therefore the extra road width can be assigned to keep the parking along Falkland Street on that approach. Of course, the stop sign, the always stop, creates a sort of a gateway feature to the town, slows people down. We've got 4 pedestrian crossings at the intersection, which I don't think there were any in the previous version. There is a crossing of Lincoln Street on the right in both options. So there is a crossing, but it is not definitely more pedestrian oriented in this configuration. Slide. So as I say, we did do some public engagement both in May, June, and September. So initially to get some initial thoughts and what are the concerns. One of the concerns we did hear was that, so of the 8 intersections, we added a 9th, the Route 332 at Trunk 3 intersection. Many of the, which it's coming. Many of the public were concerned about that, so we added that to the list as well, and that is coming. But Yeah, slide. So yeah, June 19th and on September 12th, we were in Lunenburg at the fire hall, met with the public, and they provided comments initially on the project, where the concerns were, and then what the concerns about the concepts and the street classification and all of the general recommendations were. Slide. So there were some key themes, takeaway. They're all in our report. I'm not going to read that entire list. A lot of people were concerned about pedestrian and cyclist accessibility, desire to revitalize infrastructure, a lot of discussion about parking systems, definitely the desire to maintain the historic culture, as I said at the start, and enhance traffic flow and management and making everything work better. Slide. So as I say, through the public engagement, so we heard a lot about Trunk 3 Route 332. Lots of everyone seemed to know somebody who'd been hit there, and so we said, okay, well, we better go check it out. So there's two. So it is a provincial intersection. It is not under the purview of the town. So if the town were to do anything, you'd have to talk to the province. But there's stop signs on Route 332 only, and the sight lines are, I'll say, not good. So slide. So what we've suggested is that all you need to do is put in, all the province would need to do is put in 2 more stop signs, some all-way tabs, change the overhead flashing beacon from yellow to red, and some stop ahead signs in advance, possibly some public engagement, and then it solves the sight line issue. Everyone then needs to slow down. It is busy. It is very close to warranting an always stop now anyway. And the volume is within the general guidelines for consideration of an always stop. I say almost only because the delay for Route 332 traffic is not quite where it would need to be, but that's it. Slide. So through the public engagement, so everyone liked the community center parking lot. Definite support for the parking plan, moving towards pay stations and pay by plate. A lot of discussion about Dufferin, Lincoln, Falkland, some concern about the loss of parking, and Trunk 3, Route 332, recognizing it is not under the town's town intersection, but obviously many people were excited for a change. Slide. And questions, discussion.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Comments? Councillor Babineau?
I was just curious, when reading the report, I did notice that all the times that you were in town observing were all Monday through Friday. Was there a particular reason for that?
So that was that's a good question. There what I think some of the parking might have been done over a weekend. The intersections that were looked at are more the gateway and less the downtown intersections. There was another project looking at some of the downtown intersections and what to do there. So I don't remember if we talked about weekend at this. No.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Deputy Mayor?
Through you, the chair. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. You mentioned something being out of the scope, and I'm
Yes.
not sure that I'm fully apprised of
Sure.
what the full scope of the project was. But one thing I wondered about in reading the outcomes was whether or not, and I see one suggestion in the recommendations to look further into something, but alleviating the parking congestion. So we've confirmed, the
Yes.
numbers confirm there's not an abundance of parking opportunities in our downtown core. We are at capacity or over. And so what was that part of the scope to look at opportunity to alleviate?
Yes,
the
so there, so first part of my, I think my earlier comment about not being within the scope was about active transportation, so pedestrians and cyclists. This was more about the traffic, and then looking at the intersections, as I say, so we looked at crosswalks, we looked at sidewalks when doing them. But this was not an active transportation plan. So for the parking, so there were also discussions about the enforcement and the pricing and the how. I mean, so our understanding was that many of the for example, the bar and restaurant staff park their entire shift on street, and getting them an opportunity to go somewhere else and freeing that space for bar patrons, restaurant patrons, people going downtown, visitors of the town, who then can turn that same space over 5 times over the course of that shift, would then create opportunity for parking.
So just following up on that. So the thought was that to get the staff basically of the downtown businesses to park elsewhere, and that elsewhere was the community center?
The community center, further out. Yeah, for example, potentially the community center, potentially further out from the downtown core itself, where they would walk once to the restaurant, once back to their car in an 8-hour shift, but free up that one parking space that should be metered, is metered, and is intended to create that turnover.
I guess still trying to drill down into this, because it's a perennial and longstanding issue. So, and the way to do that would be how? To encourage staff to park further out or at the community center. To
enforce the parking meters.
That just enforcement is,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this was not we were not tasked with directing parking enforcement. This was creating a plan for parking.
Anybody else? Councillor Daphne.
Through the chair, option 3, the always stop.
No, let's stop. Yes.
Any consideration given for firefighters trying to get to the fire station, fire trucks leaving, and that sort of thing?
Yes. So this lane is much wider than the incoming lane, and that is so that anyone who is queued up can pull over and let a fire truck go, and or a fire truck can come around. So both options. So if both the always stop option and the two-way stop option have that feature for that reason. The fire truck, so in laying out the curbs, the geometry of the intersection, tractor trailers were included for the other movements, and fire trucks were definitely included for coming in and out of station lane. And actually that is another reason we didn't like the roundabout option.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Greek.
Under that option as well for the always
Yep.
stop on Dufferin, Lincoln, Falkland, was it looked at how many cars would be coming in and out? I guess my only concern is, that kind of links up to main routes into and out of town. And I'm just concerned if it's an always stop, it would kind of slow the flow of traffic, which, certainly for safety reasons is a bonus, but I'd be concerned to see whether it was looked at
Yeah.
in terms of backups.
Yep. So we did look at queuing for each of the options. We did do analysis for each of the options, and this one had, so during the PM peak, had a delay. Which one was the most? From on Lincoln Street of 14 seconds. So which in traffic analysis is level of service B, which is good. So, or very good. So
Thank you. Councillor Daphne.
Back to option 3 there. The fire trucks leaving the station is fine. I understand that. I guess the other part of my concern is a firefighter trying to get to the station.
right.
We have an excellent crew, an excellent fire department, and I think the response time out of the station is 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm a little concerned, especially during the tourist season, that you've got a backup, we'll say on 3 of the stop signs, and they can't get through. So that's a little bit of a concern for me.
Right. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
Well, we're still on that through your chair. How many, I noticed you mentioned about regaining some of the spaces on Falkland that might have been lost with another option. But what number of spaces are we looking at losing on Dufferin and Lincoln with the 4-way stop from what we have now? Because
Right. So
significant.
and this is where it gets a little, so right now it's wide open asphalt, and are you allowed to park in the middle of an intersection? The Motor Vehicle Act says you're not. Are you parking in the middle of an intersection? Probably. Are you going to get a ticket? Maybe not. But is it a legal parking space? Not really. So there are some pull-in spaces on Dufferin Street that would be lost. Those are, I believe there's 8 or so of those. The spaces on Lincoln itself, with this one, this one is less than the other one, but I mean, of maybe unofficial parking spaces, you would probably lose 5.
Would you not lose all the Blue Nose Lodge parking?
So for the other one,
Well, for that one you would too, would you not? Because the Blue Nose
Yeah.
Lodge parking is basically, as you come down Dufferin and turn right at the island, all them spots on the right is primarily Blue Nose Lodge parking, and the cars park this way, like they pull in.
angled spaces.
Yeah,
on
there's
the gravel.
probably 8 there at least.
Right.
And I mean.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yes.
my concern would be, before we did any of these, would be have some communication with the business owners in that area and show them what we're thinking of and what we're considering, because that could be a massive loss to the Blue Nose Lodge, who anybody that's driven by there in the last couple months, they've spent an incredible amount of money fixing the facility up and trying to promote it. And as we know, I mean, the number one thing for a business is parking, being able to park close to your business, especially in a community of, we're an older demographic. So people don't want to walk from the community center to Montague Street. I mean, we've talked about that for 20 years now, of rerouting staff to the community center and getting them to walk to work. I don't know how we're ever going to make that happen. I really don't. We've brought it up multiple times. We have been enforcing parking this summer quite heavily in the downtown core, and staff still continue to park in metered spots because they'd rather pay the $10 parking ticket than to walk from the community center to Montague Street. That's just the way it is, right? And how you educate people, I don't know. But also what I think that people forget is from the late September till late April, there's many days you have hard pressed to find parking in the community center parking lot when the rink, the curling club, and the school's being active. And there's something, and now, as we all know here, there's talk of a daycare going over maybe in that location. So if that goes there, I think your available parking in the community center parking lot will be very limited at times. So again, that isn't I don't think that's the answer that isn't like the savior that we thought it was maybe 10 years ago. That facility is getting busier and busier. The school's taking more and more spots. You go over there on a Thursday when the farmer's market's on and you have to park. You could park over past where the foundry is sometimes to walk to the farmer's market. So, I mean, that's not a great place to push people if it's like that some days. So I guess that's my concern. I will say, in reading the report, I liked the speed data information. That was very informative because it was definitely a different information than what we heard going door to door campaigning. So it's obvious to me that it isn't the fact that people are speeding through town. It's the fact that 50 is probably too fast in certain areas of town for people, right? Yeah. And you actually mentioned that. So, maybe we want to look at something like that. I love the meter technology. I think if we're going to keep meters and enforce the meters, we have to make it easier for people to actually pay the meters. Not everybody drives around with a bunch of change in between their seats, right?
Especially foreigners.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I guess the only other thing that I guess I'll say is that area that we're talking about changing, like you made a mention that you don't know how tourists get through there. It's incredible. Well, I was in the fire department 16 years and I've lived here my entire life, and I can't think of one bad accident in that intersection. Which, don't ask me how, right? But there hasn't. So when I look at the costs of this and I look at the things that are on our plate in the next 3 or 4 years, I'm going to have a hard time spending $700,000, say, to make that an always stop to solve a problem that I'm not really sure is that big of a problem, plus lose 8 or 10 parking spots. So that's just where I am on the whole thing. But again, this is about our 4th or 5th as a town's kick at a parking study. And it always comes back to the same arguments and results, I find. But I think the best bet would be to move this to a committee of the whole meeting, a future committee of the whole meeting, for us to actually sit down. Just the first time we saw it was like Thursday, right? So move this to a future committee of the whole meeting so we can really hash out what we like and what we don't like and what we see as valuable points, and then bring it back to a council meeting would be my suggestion, if my colleagues agree with that. You guys good with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move this to a future committee of the whole meeting. We might ask you to attend at a future meeting, but again, thank you very much. Okay. And there's some great information in here, and I'm sure we'll come back with some great suggestions. So thank you very much. Thank you. You, Mayor.
Sorry, just I made a note, and maybe it can just as easily be discussed at a future meeting when we're going to discuss this again. But I wondered if it was obvious or expedient with respect to the Route 332 or Trunk 3 intersection that's outside of our jurisdiction, but of great concern to our residents, as well as I'm sure others in our neighboring municipality. If we ask staff to forward this information and the recommendation with respect to that particular intersection, and ask that our neighboring municipality, the District of Lunenburg, and our MLA join us in requesting the recommendation be enacted by the province.
That's a great suggestion. And I guess the other thing I forgot to mention is the other intersection on Trunk 3, which now seems to be a bigger traffic hazard than the one that we're now reviewing. So the one at the bottom of Green and Northwest Road, that already has a four-way stop on it. But for whatever reason, there seems to be more and more accidents at that intersection in the last 5 years than the other one. So I don't know if your firm took a look at that or not, but I mean, there has to be something done to that intersection, because there has been some very bad accidents in that intersection in the last 4 or 5 years. And you can just sit there up a bit on Green Street and watch the cars coming, say, from the Highliner direction or from Riverport direction, and they blow through that stop sign all the time. And I don't know how, because there's 4 big stop signs there, and but they do. So, you know, so did you guys look at that intersection at all?
Yeah, so not specifically as part of this project. I mean, I was through that intersection on the way here today. But that one was not identified to us for concern, so we didn't do counts and analysis. That's something that certainly could be done. But starting in the spring, probably. But
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you want to make that a motion so that we're all clear on direction for that?
I would. Must I try to repeat myself, because I may not get it the same?
Okay.
Okay. I'd move that we work with our neighboring municipality and our MLA to put forth that recommendation with regard to the intersection at Route 332 and Trunk 3.
So moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Greek. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. Anything else? Well, thank you very much, and have a safe trip back. Drive safe through those intersections. Okay, so now we're on to 7, public input and questions. Rules are pretty simple. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, must state your name. Questions or comments are directed through the chair, and comments and questions are basically open to any municipal matter. So we have one person, and that's Irma tonight. So Irma, the podium's yours.
Good evening. Try to figure out what time of day it is. Congratulations to all the councillors, by the way. I just didn't have an opportunity to tell you that up until now. My name is Irma Dassey, and I live at 18 Blockhouse Hill Road. The reason I decided to speak tonight is to discuss further about town planning, present and future. The issue came about in my mind really when the conversation about the daycare center came about, and I've written you all letters, and I made a proposal when I think the deputy mayor said we don't have a quote unquote, she said it so nicely, a perfectly flat, serviceable piece of readily available land. And, you know, my head just exploded, and, you know, I live across the street from a beautiful piece of town land that's totally underutilized, which is the RV park. So, you know, I got to thinking, well, what a beautiful place for a daycare center, right? It's got a beautiful view. The air is clean. There's no congestion. The services are there. It just made a lot of sense to me. It's out of the congestion of the town. And I don't want to talk about the daycare center per se. I don't have a vested interest in it. I respect any decision they make, if they want to be closer to the community services or not. But in my mind, it leads me to believe a couple of councillors responded, and one of the issues that came back was that the RV park is not readily available. I hope I don't take too much time here. And I know that there was a lease signed, at least I thought there was a one-year lease signed that expires 2025 April. So it leads me to question, like, what is the future of this park? And are we committed as a town to provide this RV parking for tourists forever? Or will we eventually rethink this and try to put this piece of land to better community use? I think I decided to talk when I saw Miss Rennie's letter about the buffer zone, and that's a big issue. And I think the future of the RV park should be addressed in terms of trying to make this land available for something that would be benefiting residents as opposed to simply just the tourists. Am I finished? Is that 3 minutes? Yeah, so I'll just say I have no issue with the RV park, and I think it would be a great idea if we could relocate it. Maybe that could be relocated on Star Street or whatnot. But anyway, that's my concern, and I hope I could find out what the issues at play are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irma, and staff will take note of everything, and we'll get back to you in future. Yeah, we're actually having a strategic planning session this weekend. And I'm sure there'll be lots of discussion on a lot of things we've discussed so far tonight, including the RV park. So, I'm sure there'll be some, further information will come forward in the not so distant future. So thank you very much. So a few people have came in sort of at the beginning of the meeting, and we already had the sheet taken away. So does anybody else want to speak tonight? Jesse?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I would like to specifically ask for more details on the strategic planning session that was referenced in Ms. Rennie's letter and that you've just mentioned. I couldn't see anything on the town website about a strategic planning session or anything in town communication, so maybe I overlooked something. I would love to know what the intended outcomes, what the agenda, what the costs would be of the strategic planning session.
Sure, we'll leave that. Staff can get back to you with numbers. It's a strategic planning session. Modal did one, I think, 2 weeks ago, and Bridgewater did one the week before that. It's a session for all council to go away and discuss our 3.5-year basically strategic plan to move the town forward, and basically all get on hopefully the same page and get some things done actually moving forward. So that's what the session is. I think it's vitally important that it gets done, and it's vitally important that, it's too bad it couldn't have been done a little sooner because of scheduling and stuff. It's got put off till this weekend coming, but I'm actually looking forward to this weekend. But staff will get back to you by email with some costs on it if you'd like.
Thank you. Will there be a published record of what exactly was discussed at the meetings, the minutes of discussions, and what the actual outcomes were? That would be great to see. The town actually hasn't published any kind of update on where we are with our strategic plan since March 2022, which I know precedes anyone in the current session of council. But it's been really alarming as someone who lives in town to see that we haven't published any kind of status update on the strategic plan that we have ostensibly committed to. I'm not saying that because I'm, ardently defensive of the comprehensive community plan, but a lot of the decisions that we make in agendas here reference this plan, which we haven't seen any kind of progress update on since the beginning of 2022. And we are completely alone in municipalities in Nova Scotia for not publishing any kind of single quarterly or even yearly update on what agenda items we have achieved, what we intend to achieve over the year. We see a lot of items get memory hold, like the vending bylaw or these dangerous and unsightly premises bylaw. Decisions on what we're going to do with the electric utility get postponed for a very long time. And yeah, just not seeing any update on any of that for a very long time or any commitment to how we're going to update that. It would be great to see an outcome from a strategic planning session that we do have a plan to actually formally keep track of what our commitments are, what items we intend to return to, and what our plan is. And it would be great to see that dealt with transparency from the start. So it's pretty alarming to hear that this is something that we actually already plan on doing, but completely in private. I'd like to hear why this isn't something that could be done through an extended committee of the whole or a session that would be open to public attendance.
I'm quite sure once we come out of the session, we'll have some public engagement sessions after we come out with our results. That's our plan. Come back with, but we're just not going to come out of this plan and this is what we're doing. We'll have some public engagement sessions, engage the citizens on what we've came out with during the session, like our other neighboring municipalities have done. It's quite common to do it this way. And it's mainly for the reasons that you've mentioned. We want to get a strategic plan in place. We want to put it in writing. We want to let the public know where we're headed the next 3.5 years. And the CCP was a 40-year guiding document. It wasn't actually a strategic plan, unfortunately. It was just a guiding document. So what we're trying to do is take parts of that and other things that we know we have in front of us, like the electric utility and other things, and put a plan in place moving forward. So that is our plan on the weekend. And I'm sure shortly after the weekend, there'll be some correspondence coming out to the public. We'll probably have some public sessions later in February with some information of what we've come out with. And at that time, trust me when I say we will have plenty of community engagement before we actually say this is our guiding document for the next 3+ years. We will be asking the community what they think of the direction we're going in.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know I've exceeded my time, and I appreciate what you've said. It would be great to see that update because specifically on the town website presently, it does say that it is the strategic plan and there are action items listed that are still under the CCP. There just hasn't been an update. So clarification on that and an outline of where we're going would be amazing to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. And that's my goal too after the weekend. So anybody else? Okay, moving on to correspondence 8.1 is sponsorship request for Curl for a Cause. So that's in the package that you all could see. And I'd just like to mention quickly that we did approve a budgeted amount in this year's budget for Curl for a Cause. I think it was $500, if I'm not mistaken. The problem is this always gets mixed up, something like the JC Classic might. They come to us this time of year by the time it gets approved. So we did approve it for this year in April or May, and it got passed, but they've probably, so we're going to contact them, make them aware that we did send them a donation of $500 back in May or June, and maybe we can look at the requested budget time for the next year, this budget time. That's where the problem is. So again, like after this year's JC Classic, depending on what we do, we can then put it in the budget in April. So next year you wouldn't have to come make a presentation. We just already have a budgeted line item in the budget. But that's unfortunately with municipal budgets, it's sometimes confusing of when events actually occur. But we are a sponsor of the Curl for a Cause. So I just want to let the community know that, because again, that's another great community event for the local hospital. So we have just an invitation to communities in bloom. And then we have a letter from Paula Rennie, Next Steps for Blockhouse Hill and UNESCO World Heritage Site Buffer Zone. That item actually is on a future Committee of the Whole agenda that was originally scheduled for February 18th, but that's going to have to be it's going to have to be another date. We'll have it as soon as we know the date. We'll put that on our website, but we're going to we definitely have that. That's on one of the upcoming Committee of the Whole agendas. So again, thank you very much. Number 9, there's no public hearings, public information meetings, or appeals. Number 10, business arising and unfinished business. There isn't any. So now we go on to new business. So first is a verbal report on 11.1. Are you giving that? Good. Hillary?
Thank you so much and good evening. It is my pleasure to bring forward a new collective agreement for council confirmation. The town has a collective agreement with the Canadian Union of Public Employees, Local 1780, that covers the non-management staff who work in the Public Works Department. The new collective agreement is a 4-year agreement covering November 1st, 2024 to October 31st, 2028. It includes an average wage increase of $3.50 per hour in the first year, followed by 3% increases annually over the next 3 years. Management feels this is a fair deal that immediately addresses cost of living increases facing everyone in our community and the town's appreciation for the essential services provided by Public Works employees. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all those involved in the negotiations for the respectful and collaborative spirit that was brought to the bargaining table. Staff recommend Council ratify the 2024 to 2028 collective agreement with the Canadian Union of Public Employees Local 1780 Memorandum of Settlement between CUPE and the Town of Lunenburg, as ratified by CUPE Local 1780 members on January 14th, 2025, and authorize the Interim Chief Administrative Officer to execute the agreement on behalf of the Town of Lunenburg. Thank you.
Thank you. So there's a motion, a recommendation on the table. Is someone prepared to move the recommendation? Councillor Strong, do you want to read it out?
I am going to make a motion that council ratify the 2024 to 2028 collective agreement with the Canadian Union of Public Employees, CUPE Local 1780, as approved by CUPE Local 1780 members on January 14th, 2025, and authorize the interim chief administrative officer to execute the agreement on behalf of the Town of Lunenburg.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Fulton. Any question or discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. 11.2, Curbside Waste Collection Services Contract. Tyson?
Thank you, Your Worship. This report talks about the Curbside Waste Collection Services Contract. The recommendation from staff is that council award the Curbside Waste Collection Services Contract to GE's Old Trucking Limited from fiscal 26-27 up to fiscal 32-33. So starting with some background on this item, the Lunenburg Region Municipal Joint Services Board led a request for proposal process in August 2024 for the renewal of the curbside waste collection services. With the combined effort of the 5 neighbouring municipalities expected to gain additional traction during the negotiation. So the curbside waste collection includes household landfill waste, blue bag recyclables, paper, cardboard, organics, leaf and yard waste, the bulky bi-weekly landfill waste, metal, wood, and Christmas tree collection. So earlier in 2024, Council opted to extend our existing agreement for 2 more years with GE's Old Trucking, and that covers the town for curbside waste collection up to March 31st, 2026. So the period included in the new RFP is for an additional 7 years, or the next 7 years following the expiry of that deal. So running from April 1st, 2026 up to March 31st, 2033. So it's a substantial commitment involved here. So the RFP issued by the Lunenburg Region MJSB received 2 proposals, one from GE's Old Trucking Limited and one from Miller Waste Systems. So on the second page of the report, it went through the 2 proposals and compiled a comparison. Both were based on unit rates for 1,531 dwellings, which is an approximate count of what we have in Lunenburg right now. So the table compiles all the items that we talked about covered in the curbside waste pick up a comparison between the two proposals. And then looking ahead for the duration of the 7-year agreement, showed in the second table on page 2 of the report, the percentage increase and projecting ahead to where it would get us. So over the course of the deal, we can see that it's basically a $900,000 difference between the two proposals, with GE's proposal coming in at around just under $2.2 million for that duration. So the 26-27 proposal from GE is a slight raise from what we're already committed to be paying in 25-26. And there are some additional items within the provisional items in that first table. So the annual electronic waste collection and the storm debris collection included as provisional items. So we have the option to undertake them if necessary and if council sees fit as events arise. As part of the review of the proposals, staff have held discussions with the representative of the MJSB and agree with their assessment to support GE's Old Trucking Limited's proposal. In addition, all the other 4 municipalities have chosen to take GE's proposal and adopt it. The option would remain to council to retender. But again, the competitive pricing that was attracted with all 5 municipalities working together, and with the town being a smaller member of that group, it feels like the competitive advantage that maybe we've gained through that process would be lost. So in terms of the financial commitments, as I said, the increase for 26-27 is a 2.35% raise on what we're already committed to for 25-26. And then that standard 2.89 per year would apply for the duration of the agreement. And these increases will be included in the garbage and waste collection budgets in the respective years and are funded through the tax rate for the town. If there are any questions, happy to do my best to answer. Thank you.
Any questions for Tyson? There's no questions. We have a recommendation in front of us. Someone want to move that recommendation? Councillor Greek.
I move that council award the curbside waste collection services contract to GE's All Trucking Limited from fiscal 2026-27 up to fiscal 2032-33.
It's been moved. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Babineau. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. Now we're on to 11.3, RFP award stormwater separation master plan. Tyson?
Thank you again, Your Worship. There's 2 recommendations included in this report. So the first is that council increase the budget for the storm separation plan project to $127,000 funded by sewer reserves. And then the second recommendation is that council award the stormwater separation master plan request for proposal to CBCL for the amount of $109,975 plus tax. So again, the background on this report. So the stormwater separation master plan continues the town's efforts to continue with asset management. This particular plan is required to understand and model the existing underground and above ground stormwater infrastructure. With this plan, staff will be able to determine effective and systematic replacements and upgrades to the infrastructure, as well as strategies for sanitary and stormwater separation and countering saltwater intrusion. So there's two main aims. Provide the town with computer models of the town's complete stormwater system, both above and underground, which will enable the town to be able to analyze systems for such things as future growth and sanitary and storm separation. And it will also provide the town with street-by-street recommendations for storm infrastructure to ensure the downstream sewer sizing and outfall have adequate capacity for future potential storm sewer extension projects. So basically making sure everything's coordinated with each other. So the amount included in the 24-25 town capital budget for the storm separation master plan is $110,000, including the net HST. So moving on to the discussion, the storm separation master plan RFP closed on October 26, 2024, with a validity period of 120 days. So the way the RFP process works is we review the submissions that are made, and different parts are given different weightings. It's all documented within the RFP. So it's a matter of reviewing the proposals, come out with a score, and then assessing them from there. So we received 3 competitive proposals. CBCL's proposal included flow monitoring as part of their scope and added value to their proposal relative to the other proposals. CBCL also worked on the previous modelling project with us, so familiar with the town structure, and are in a good position to build again on that. So the scoring was fairly close. CBCL received the highest score at 83.1, and then CTQ Consultants was a little bit behind them at 81, and then Design Point were at 73.4, and the pricing does receive weighting within that. So Design Point were a little bit higher, and that explains why their score's a little bit lower than the other ones. So as I said earlier, the amount included in the town capital budget was $110,000, including the net HST. But based on the results, we need to increase that budget to $127,000 in order for the project to proceed. That concludes my report. If there are any questions, again, happy to respond.
Thank you, Tyson. Any questions? Deputy Mayor?
Just a clarification, really, it's a $17,000 difference that we're talking about between what was budgeted and what's being requested. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, it's a $17,000. So it's increasing from 110 to 127. You're exactly right there.
I just wanted to, oops, sorry, if anyone listening or here witnessing hasn't noticed, we've got very thorough reporting, and I very much appreciate that. And so I'm happy to move the recommendation one, that the council increase the budget for the storm separation plan project to $127,000 funded by sewer reserves.
Moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daphne. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous. Thank you, Tyson. Go to the second one then. Someone prepared to move that again?
I'll go again, just to keep things moving. That council award the storm water separation master plan request for proposal RFP to CBCL for the amount of $109,975 plus HST.
Moved by Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Daphne. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Thanks again, Tyson. So 11.4 is the accessible housing incentive policy. There's a recommendation in front of us, but Hillary, you got a report?
Thank you so much again. This draft accessible housing incentive policy is coming to council after being reviewed in principle at Committee of the Whole on January 7th. This is one of the town's 6 Housing Accelerator Fund initiatives. A policy must be put in place by February 29th, 2025 to meet our funding deliverable date. Staff are proposing aligning this program with the town's existing building permit process. The proposed incentive would apply to any project that requires a building and occupancy permit under the Nova Scotia Building Code. This means the policy would apply to all types of dwelling units being made accessible. This includes newly constructed units, renovations to existing structures, and the creation of accessory dwelling units. Following discussion at Committee of the Whole, staff are proposing a 3-year pilot project, after which council could review the policy's effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Hillary? Okay, is there someone prepared to move that recommendation? Councillor Fullerton, do you want to?
I will, yes. I move that we accept the recommendation that council give notice to approve the new accessible housing incentive policy as presented.
Move by Councillor Fullerton. Is there a seconder? Councillor Strong. Any further discussion or questions on the motion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carried unanimous. Now we'll move on to notice of motions, information requests, and council reports. So what I'll do is, I don't know where I started last meeting, but I might as well start on the left. So Councillor Fullerton, do you have anything tonight? Okay, Councillor Greek, Councillor Babineau, Councillor Strong.
Oh, boy. First, a little friendly reminder that on Thursday, the Cultural Tourism Working Group will be meeting at the Fisheries Museum, and I'm hoping that people in the gallery and people in the community listening in tonight will attend one of the sessions. They're scheduled from 1 to 3 and 4 to 6, and I believe there will be 2 counselors there throughout the whole thing, along with staff. So hope to see you all there. And then the second thing is that it's a personal thing that as a management lawyer that's negotiated contracts for many years, I wanted to thank staff for the negotiations. It couldn't have been easy in a time when the cost of living has kind of gotten out of control on all of us, and keeping our employees working with us throughout the entire term of negotiations.
Thank you. Councillor Daphne.
Kind of a personal thing for me. Next Tuesday, February 4th, is World Cancer Day. The theme for the next 2 years, 2025 to 2027, is called United by Unique. And it puts people at the center of the care and explores new ways of making a difference. And I think we've all been touched by cancer in some way, either through family. I've lost many family members, including my parents, to cancer. So I just wanted to say a little blurb to alert everybody to next Tuesday. So cancer is more than just a medical diagnosis. It's a deeply personal matter. Behind every diagnosis lies a unique human story. Stories of grief, pain, healing, resilience, love, and more. Just on a personal note, my mom died of a vulva cancer. Extremely, extremely painful. And we have a lot of work to do with palliative care, but I'm urging all the women to be proactive. And if you feel there's a problem, do not take no from your doctor. In my mother's case, she knew for quite a while there was something wrong, but because she didn't have a doctor, she was told, go home, you're okay, it's a bladder infection or whatever. So fight. There has been several other residents in the town since my mother who have been diagnosed with vulva cancer. One I'm happy to say is doing quite great. The other one is still in a little bit of a battle. And I also happen to know since my mom died, December of 2023, I've heard of 3 other women who have died with it. I'll just continue on here. That's why a people-centered approach to cancer care that fully integrates each individual's unique needs with compassion and empathy leads to the best health outcomes. Every experience with cancer is unique. So that really hits home for me too. When Mom was first diagnosed, we were kind of left in the air for a little bit. And when we finally did get to talk to people, it was, well, this is what you're going to experience. This will be this step, this step, this step, this step. Not true, people. Very, very not true. Each of us is unique. Remember that. Your pain is your pain. Every experience with cancer is unique, and it will take all of us united to create a world where we look beyond the disease and see the person before the patient. That hit home. Make sure your loved one is seen as a person. My mom got the best care on the med ward or the emergency ward at Fisherman's Memorial Hospital. And I think that is because we grew up here. The nurses knew my mom, knew me, and it made a hell of a lot of difference. So next Tuesday, keep the people that you've lost to cancer in your mind. Make a donation if you can. If you know of someone that has cancer right now, stop by. Give them a chat, give them a hug, take them some coffee or whatever. Thanks.
Thank you. February 4th is also my father's 80th birthday, or it would have been my father's 80th birthday. So thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Stu. Yes, through the chair, I want to bring us back to follow up from the fact that we received the parking and traffic study this evening. And I don't think staff need a reminder, but I think it might be good just to point out for the public's benefit that there was a motion made by the previous council on February 27th of 2024 that staff would be directed to work on a proposed amendment to the land use bylaw to enable up to 5 on-site parking spaces in front yards. That received subsequent review by the Planning Advisory Committee and has been left in limbo at the moment. So I would ask that either be directed that staff pick up that work, but also consider if there are any other options that might be also proposed. And I'm looking into the possibility of a variance for the particular property in question in the Salt Meadow subdivision would be requested and helpful in this council understanding what we can do to alleviate the situation in that neighborhood. So do I need to give a motion to direct staff to add additional work to the original motion? Yeah. So I would further to the motion made on February 27th regarding making potential amendments to the land use bylaw to enable 5 on-site parking spaces in front yards in the medium density neighborhoods. I would ask that the staff look further into other options or additional options to address the problem in Salt Meadow subdivision and the apartment buildings with a lack of on-site parking in that neighborhood. Is that clear? No? Is there a second? Oh, sorry.
That's really not, it's not really a motion. That's just a notice of motion, so we don't.
No,
need
a
a second.
motion to direct staff, I think we.
Okay,
do.
a motion to
I
direct
think-
staff. Okay. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Strong. Any further discussion? I'd just like to add to that motion, if we could, I'd like to direct staff to set up a meeting with myself, the deputy mayor, the acting CAO, the bylaw officer, and the RCMP commanding officer ASAP if we can, to try to discuss some of the issues up in that area as well. It's been going on far too long, and we try to be polite and kind about the situation up there, but I think it's time to start getting more serious. So we can add something into that motion that we deal with that as well, because I think that's a much bigger issue than just the parking, if I have to say so myself.
I don't.
Certainly we'll look after that then. So there's a motion on the table, moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, motion carried unanimous.
I have something else, Your Worship.
Yeah, go
if you
ahead.
don't mind. This is a notice of motion. I'd like to make a notice of motion this evening that staff begin the planning process to consider amending the land use bylaw to change the zoning of Salt Meadow subdivision from medium density to low density, which is consistent with the intent and configuration of the original property development plan.
So that's a notice of motion, so a report will come back at one of the next meetings. Yep. Okay, everyone good with that? Anything else? I don't really have anything, except I'd just like to thank the deputy mayor and my colleagues on council for doing a great job during a very busy 10 or 11 days while I was gone, keeping me informed when they could. I didn't have coverage most of the 1 week, but again, thank you very much. Things moved very smoothly, and it's great to get away, so thank you. So next on the agenda is scheduling the next committee of the whole meeting. So we have to find a date because February 18th will not work. So do we have any suggestions? March 4th. Yeah, March 4th, we could go. Everyone good with that? Okay, March 4th, we'll schedule it. And we'll try to get that on the website. The date and the items that are listed below will be part of the agenda items. And there might be other things added, but that's the initial agenda below. And we'll get that added to the website as soon as possible, so the public will know when they can attend. Everyone good with that? Okay, so again, I need a motion to move to closed session. So moved by Councillor Strong, seconder by Councillor Fullerton. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for coming tonight and listening.